Hello, everybody. Jesse Garcia with Realty of America.
And Miguel Perea, Realty of America.
Awesome. And on today's video, we're going to talk about the top 5 things realtors should do when it comes to open house. And we're going to go a little bit deeper into some real estate tips.
Let's do it.
All right. So, Miguel, let's talk about the first topic. So one of them is going to be, the first thing is setting up your open house for success and creating a vibe.
Yep.
How do you like to set up your open house for success? What do you do first prior to hosting?
Gotcha. So prior to hosting, what I like to do is I like to promote it at least 5 to 7 days in advance, so you can blast it up to as many Facebook groups as you can, and then obviously let your circle of influence know that you're going to be going live on Facebook too, so that way they can share your Facebook live when you're at the open house.
Yep. So you're going to want to make sure you get it up on MLS, promoting the open house, push it out to social media, like you mentioned, create a flyer.
Yep.
Another thing that you can do that's really smart is go up and set up your directional signs earlier in the day, right?
Yep.
So if your open house is at 1 o'clock or noon or 12:30 or 2, get earlier out in the day and treat it as an event. Set up your directional signs. How many signs do you like to put up?
15 to 20 signs if you can.
Wow, listen guys, look at that. That's huge. That's treating it like an event. And the reason why is you want to create buzz in the neighborhood, and you want to create like breadcrumbs all the way to the open house, right? So another thing that we like to do is, you mentioned balloons in the past?
Balloons, yep. If you guys can go get some balloons, hang them up on your directional or your A-frame sign right in front of the property. It's gonna, obviously bring in people. And then get some light snacks, cookies, popcorn. Give them something.
Yep. So we'll kind of go into that in a minute. And then what else do you like to do prior? I know we talked about this in the past, but door knocking, right?
Yep, door knocking.
A lot of people kind of forget to door knock with an open house, but how has it worked for you in the past?
It has worked amazingly, because then what you can do too, guys, is you can package it up as like an exclusive event, like Jesse said, an event for the neighbors. Because I know we got a lot of nosy neighbors, right? People are nosy. They're gonna say, hey, look at all these signs and all this activity. What's going on? So what I like to do is go door knock, let the neighbors know that, hey guys, we're gonna obviously offer you guys a private, exclusive 15 to 30-minute window before the public open house, so you guys can come and take a look at the property.
Exclusive for the neighbors. And a lot of buyers, a buyer for that property might already be in the neighborhood, or might be referred through somebody already living in the neighborhood. Yep. Maybe they have a family member or a friend that would love to live close to them, and maybe they
neighbor.
They have a chance to kind of pick their neighbor, actually.
Yeah.
So guys, treat it as an event. Get out there, set up enough open houses. Don't just put 1 or 2. That's not going to be effective enough. Get enough directional sales signs out there. If you have the money, invest in an A-frame sign to put out right out front, or a flag.
Yep.
Anything eye-catching that draws attention to the house. So those are tips right there too. Anything else prior that you like to do?
Anything else prior, before the actual open house starts, is I like to open up all the shades and open up obviously all the blinds, and make sure you got a lot of natural light. Showcase the natural light that goes in the property. Turn on all the lights, and make sure your counters are clear. You got a clear hallway, that way there's no shoes, as soon as you walk in. And then just try to keep an open space. That's
you want to create flow so that it's welcoming. The minute people walk through the doors, it's the house is already kind of greeting them. Like you mentioned, drawing in the natural light.
Yep.
Get some visuals on. So throw some images on a TV in the background, or maybe some light music, or music with a vibe. Nothing too crazy or vulgar or anything like that, right? And then scent. A lot of agents like to get some neutral scents, like either like a vanilla or a linen, or something that's just kind of really inviting. Nothing too overpowering though, right?
Right. No cinnamon or anything.
Yeah. So hopefully that helps. I know my wife in the past, when she would host open houses, one of the things she would even do is she would even, if she could, she would either get bake some cookies, get that cookie smell coming in. I don't know what that does, but it just kind of triggers people, like
makes you want to stay longer.
Right? Makes you want to stay longer.
Yeah.
So the next thing, guys, is the second tip is know the property like a pro. So this is what do you like to do about studying the product prior to open house?
So I like to take at the very least the day before to kind of look at the area. Whether it's you drive out there, or you just go online and look at your local religious gathering places, your schools, your grocery stores, coffee shops. I like to look at what's around, and then on the actual property, pull it up on the MLS. Take a look at the square footage, taxes, garage spaces, updates. Call the listing agent too. That's what I like to do, and just ask, hey, what are the updates and whatnot.
So think about you, where you live right now. Sometimes when people buy houses, they don't necessarily just buy. Obviously the features of the house are important to them, right? It has to work for them and their family, but they're also buying the neighborhood, the community. Yeah. So the commute to work, how close they are to family and friends, how close they are to convenient things. So the more stuff that hey, there's a local Walgreens, 5 blocks from here. The freeways 15 minutes that way, the airport's 15, 30 minutes that way,
Yeah.
The more stuff that you can kind of know, it helps people kind of make a decision of their daily life when they're imagining, all right, if I lived here, how far would this be? How far would that be?
Yeah.
So, and buyers love to do business with people who are confident
Yep.
about what they're talking about. So the more that you know about the house, get familiar with it, walk it yourself,
Yep.
figure out where all the features are.
Yep.
Maybe even ask, I know you mentioned that as well too, Matt, maybe even ask the sellers, hey, have you had any recent updates lately?
Yeah.
Right? Because buyers will ask you those questions.
They will.
Right?
They're gonna ask you what the age of the furnace is, your water heater, your roof. They're gonna ask you about this kind of stuff.
Yep. Have they done any recent updates? So the more of that type of stuff you know, the better, because then they're walking away with more information. It's easier for them to potentially make a decision. All right. So the third thing we're going to talk about, guys, is do not forget to make meaningful connections. Mm-hmm. People are going to be walking into the open house. Some of them are going to be represented by a realtor. That's okay. Welcome. Yep. Others are unrepresented. They're actively just, looking, kind of maybe getting their search started. Yep. So this is a great opportunity for you to capture some business. So what are some of the things that you like to say with somebody when they're walking through the open house for the first time, so that way you remember to connect?
Exactly. So what I like to do is I like to personally get their name first before I even hand them, an MLS sheet, which I do like to do too. I like to hand them an MLS sheet, so then that way we establish some kind of connection there. I'm already giving them something, so they feel comfortable. They're invited, right? I'm saying, hey, welcome. I even like to do this gesture. I even open up my hand a little bit and point them to the inside of the property, so that way they feel welcomed. And then what I do is I point them to the sign-in sheet, obviously, but I also give them the information sheet. So that's what I like to do, make them feel welcomed, and then obviously get their name and try to memorize their name.
Yep. So here's a tip right here for any realtors. Maybe if you struggle to get somebody to sign in, imagine this. If you just opened up your house, would you just want anybody walking to your house? You have possessions there. If it's occupied, things that are important to you, sentimental to you, you want to know who's just walking through your house, right?
Exactly.
So we all have to respect the seller's privacy as well.
Yep.
They want to know who's walking through their house. So if you're an agent who's always struggled with kind of getting people to sign in, this is one thing that you can do. When somebody's walking through the door, greet them. Hi, hello, welcome to our open house. Excuse me, did you have an appointment?
Oh, that's good.
Maybe ask them a question.
Yeah.
And guess what you're going to do? You're going to change their pattern, because they're going to be like, oh, I didn't know I needed an appointment.
Yeah.
It's okay. Do me a favor. The seller just asked us to go make sure that we have anyone that walks through their property to go ahead and get signed in. So if you can do that for us, please, here. Mm-hmm. And guess what they're going to do? They're more inclined to sign in, because you just broke their pattern by asking them a question, guys. So I hope that helps right there. That's a tip right there, all right?
That's good.
So just think about that type of stuff. You should know who's walking through the property. For one, you're going to want to follow up, because you're there putting in the work. Yep. You're working that property. You're working it as an event. If you don't have nobody's contact information, how can you follow up? How can you get feedback to the sellers of what buyers and what the market is talking about their property, right?
Exactly.
So this is what we got to know who's there, who's walking the property, and also we need that feedback. All right. So the last thing, not the last thing, but the fourth tip is remembering to capture content. So you leverage that event to create more opportunities for you. So Miguel, talk about how you like to kind of document open houses. What do you do?
So what I like to do, guys, is I like to, whenever I do have some time when I'm not either with a client or, introducing people to the property, I like to take some time to do some B-roll, which is when I take out my phone, I turn on the wide lens on my camera, and then I either go left to right or right to left really slowly to try to capture some clips that I can later on use for either my stories on Facebook to let people know that I'm at the open house, or to use for a video that I create after the open house.
Yep. So this is content that you can kind of repurpose. You can put out on your Instagram or your Facebook pages, things like that. Snapchat for those that use that as well too. Yep. But I know my wife likes to go Facebook Live when she hosts open house, and she'll tag me. She'll let me know ahead of time. Hey, when I go live, I'll send you a text message before I go live. Help me kind of push it out. And what I do is I'll go on and I'll help share it to a bunch of groups. Yep. Because when you're in a group, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of members in these groups. Yeah. When somebody goes live, guess what? All the members of the group get notified. So there's a chance to get more eyeballs on your live video. Yeah. And to kind of increase the views, and hopefully you generate some potential interested people that are watching that open house and might have questions, or next they're DMing you and things like that.
Exactly.
Right?
It's a good way to pick up leads too. They see that you're actively out on the field, and then they can ask you questions directly there too.
For sure. And then listen, when we go to work with a seller or another agent, we're proactively helping them market that house. We're not just putting a for sale sign up and putting it on MLS like any other agent can do, and then just praying that it gets sold. Guys, we're working for the business, and we're earning it. We're being intentional. We're going out there into the community and in the marketplace, proactively finding buyers. All right. So the last thing is follow up like a boss. That's the 5th tip for anyone out here hosting open houses. You already did the work. Miguel, talk a little bit about how you like to follow up on your open houses.
So what I like to do, guys, is typically 2, maybe 3 hours after the open house, once they've settled in, maybe they went back home or they maybe toured one more. I like to just kind of let them settle and then give them a call. Just say, hey guys, first of all, thank them, make them compliment. Yep. Thank them. And then say, hey, I obviously thank you for stopping by. What's your feedback? What do you guys think of the property? Did you guys like it? What did you like? What did you not like? And then prior to that actual phone call, what I like to do is find a similar property or another property in the area. So in that way, if they don't like that one, you at least have a backup plan where you can still stay active with them.
I think that's really important because it gives you the opportunity to keep the conversation going. The reality is, as much as we want to sell that property, it just might not be the right fit for every buyer out there. But at least if you took some time in to find another similar inventory, you can kind of roll them in and keep the conversation going. And then it might just buy you an opportunity to get back in front of them, showing them another property or inviting them to another open house, or potentially to a consultation to find out more about what it is that's important to them.
Exactly.
So any last minute tips as we wrap up this video, Miguel, that's kind of worked for you?
I would say, guys, be intentional. Like Jesse said, treat it like an event. Obviously, this is what we do for a living. So guys, be intentional, whether you're out there and if you catch yourself sitting or if it's at that open house, record some content. If you have time, door knock. Obviously that's a very big value add. Not only does the seller appreciate it, but it gives you obviously something to do, and you can record it. Be mindful. That's my biggest tip. Is just be mindful.
And I think as I wrap up, what I would tell you is, if I had no business and had to start my business all over again, this is in the beginning you might have more time than you do have money because you're just trying to establish yourself in real estate. This is a great way to find serious buyers by putting yourself out there. So if I were you, I would be calling all through agents and just asking them, hey, listen, I would be willing to host an open house for you. If you're open to it, let me know. I'm willing to put in the work. And I would be filling up my week or weekend with 3, 4, 5 open houses, staggering them at different times, and just going to work. I would just be filling up my pipeline with that, creating these potential opportunities. 100%. And when I look back at when we got started early on, because it would happen to everybody. It happened to us early on where nobody showed up. But when I look back at it, those ones where nobody showed up, you know what? A lot of that had to do with us. We didn't effectively market those properties. We didn't give ourselves enough runway to market it and to set ourselves up for success. This is why we're shooting this video, hoping that you can learn from our mistakes of what we would do differently, knowing what we know now. And this is why we're kind of giving you these 5 tips, because over the years, we've gotten better at doing them and convert it, more effectively. But don't get discouraged if you hosted an open house and nobody showed up. Look at how you hosted. Ask yourself, what could I have done better? Where can I improve? What can I do to create more of an inviting atmosphere? What can I do to set this up for success so that way I create buzz in the neighborhood? So I promise you, if you take the time and you go through these steps, you'll start to notice some improvement and just get better one after the next. All right, guys. So once again, signing off. I hope this was helpful. Jesse Garcia with Realty of America.
Miguel Perea, Realty of America, guys.
Take care.
Thank you.